Hey Sinners, you're listening to Sinful Cuts, the podcast that takes a look at the wild, weird, and wonderful world of horror. We take a deep dive into some of your favorite movies, possibly uncover some hidden gems. Sometimes we even get some stinkers. Thank you so much for joining us. We truly love having you here. Please sit back, take a listen, and let's get our scare on.
Hey Sinners, I'm Shannon.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Sinful Cuts. Introducing...
Clay MCLEOD Chapman.
Welcome to the episode, Clay.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. So, Sinners, just to give you a little behind the scenes, I've been stalking Clay for weeks now. I was fortunate enough to Clay. I saw you and Nat Cassidy and Rachel Harrison. Cassandra Cole was the moderator, and
Aaron E. Adams. You were at the
and
Strand.
Aaron E. Adams at the Strand.
Oh,
and
man.
I was like, I gotta get everybody involved in this on the podcast. And I reached out to you, and you were gracious enough to say, yeah, you know what, this sounds fun. Let's definitely do it. And I sent you a list of movies. Now, we have you a couple of months from now. We have you for a movie. I'm not going to give it away. But you and I were just kind of like bouncing back and forth on Instagram. And I don't know who brought Bad Ronald up. But all of a sudden,
who brings
you were
Bad Ronald up into conversation?
Yeah, who ever brings Bad Ronald up?
We do.
Like, that movie's nuts. And I'm like, do you want to talk about Bad Ronald? And you were like, I do want to talk about Bad Ronald. And here we are.
Darn tootin'. Yeah, it's amazing. You're totally enabling me. So this is, I feel like if your listenership is still talking to you after this, this is the litmus test, right? This is the line in the sand. Yeah. Like, can they follow you after this episode?
This is it. I mean, this is like the initial. This is hazing for our listeners. If they can get through this one,
will anyone trust you ever again on a movie recommendation?
The answer is probably no.
It's like Cyrus and the Warriors. Can you dig it?
Which
is better than Warriors come out and play.
All right. So wait, look, I have a lot of praise to shower on Clay before we get into the movie. So, as I said, we're extremely fortunate to have you on and incredibly thankful. But this is a big year for you, Clay. I mean, we have What Kind of Mother?
Yeah.
Hey.
And just finished it recently too.
This book is tearing it up, but that's only because Ghost Eaters was tearing it up last year, and then Whisper Down the Lane. I don't want to put you on the spot, but of course I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you don't have to say the title, but I know that you have something coming out. Is it the latter half of 24? Or is it the early part of 25?
I mean, it's funny. Like, there's a lot of like things kind of getting like getting out there into the world, and
you're a busy man.
I'm very, very lucky. Like, there's, there are a lot of people who are, enabling my kind of storytelling. But in July, I'm going to bang through these. Forgive me. In July, I have a novelette called "Stay on the Line," which is with a indie press called Shortwave Books, and it has illustrations by Trevor Henderson, which. He's the creator of Siren Head, Cartoon Cat. I mean, he is an amazing artist, and to have his visual stylings on this thing is amazing. So that is
going to be incredible. I'll put some of the artwork in the show notes as well.
Oh my God.
So we'll do a little preview.
So worth it. Like, just on the artwork alone, like, who cares about the story, but like Trevor's artwork is going to be amazing. And then I have a new comic series on Dark Horse that's going to start in July. That's called Seance in the Asylum, which I'm really excited about. That's going to be a spooky one. And that has art by this amazing artist named Andrea Muti. and I'm probably mispronouncing it, but I'm going to say it like that, Andrea Muti, because he's a beautiful, beautiful man. And then last but not least, in September, I have a novella with Bad Hand Books called Kill Your Darling. And that's going to be like a kind of like a true crimey, maybe supernatural, maybe not, kind of neo-noir mystery thing.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So yeah, just trying to get stuff out there into the world, tell some stories.
Where
Love
do you
it.
find the time? Because I follow you on Instagram, and you're also doing incredibly cool stuff. You're bouncing around, you're seeing movies,
You're all
going
over
to
the
concerts.
place.
Where the hell do you get the time?
I mean, I'm only going to be alive once,
Yeah.
and I feel like if I don't take advantage of everything, I don't know. It's just like I want to do all of these things. I want to tell all these stories. I want to like go to bookstores. I don't know. Like I just feel like time is short and of the essence, and I need to love my family, love my kids, take them to cool things, and just do things before I die. That's it. I don't want to die with regrets.
That's a great philosophy. No, that's a great philosophy.
Yeah.
All right.
definitely.
Well, transitioning into someone who may have had or may not have had regrets at all.
Perfect segue. Perfect segue.
Let's
by
talk
the way.
about Bad Ronald.
Oh my god.
All right. I'm going to go out on a limb. Actually, the limb already broke. I know for a fact. I am the oldest here tonight. I was born in '68, so this Bad Ronald came out in what, 73? Oh, the novel came out in 73 and 77.
74.
So I have in
74, okay.
74. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a quick transition.
All right.
Like I think wasn't it like a popular thing to make they a lot of them went to books and just put it out like on a quick like TV movie. Like I think like even Flowers in the Attic was kind of one of them.
Yeah.
For the time.
You had it in both directions, so to speak. You had TV movies, made for TV movies based off of novels that had just come out, and then you had novelizations of made for TV movies as well. So, an embarrassment of riches. But
Yeah.
I would have, there's no way in hell that I saw this on like the ABC movie of the week.
Yeah.
I must have caught this on like the 4 o'clock movie at some point during the 70s.
Yeah.
But this movie scared the hell out of me because I was still a little child
Yeah.
when I saw this.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah,
I feel like in the 70s and 80s, there was just this heyday of made for TV movies that you would have. I mean, I know we always talk about like Trilogy of Terror, and we talk about Salem's Lot, like these movies that like maybe began as made for TV films, but I think they had kind of a bigger, kind of more robust life on VHS.
yeah.
But there are these made for TV films that just had no life beyond the kind of airing on whatever network, like no VHS, no, like they almost became kind of urban legends in of themselves, where
Absolutely.
like Dark Night of the Scarecrow. There's this, I think one of the ones that kind of really kind of kicked it off was Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. With
another one that scared the hell out of me.
Right. There's another one that was called Don't Go to Sleep, with Valerie Harper. Like all of these, it's all of these TV actors like Dabney Coleman, like that just kind of like show up in these things because it's like, yeah, sure, I'll play a bit role in these things.
I actually have one too. Night of the Lepus.
Yes.
I got to the point where I saw it so young, caught it on TV, whatever year it was, and I was so young, and I remember I enjoyed it, but whatever. And I got to the point where I'm like, it never expanded ever again. So then I got to the point like, did I make it up? Like,
right?
I mean, I read a lot of horror books. I'm like, it's possible I just had, and I'm an only child, so like I had to, sometimes I just make up my own friends sometimes.
No, but I think you're totally correct. Like, I think that like because we were kind of beholden at that point in technology, that like things showed up on air You know, they would air at like random hours, and like if you saw it, it kind of seared its way into your subconscious. But you would like years later be like, hey, do you ever remember that movie that was on TV that was about this guy that lived in the house, and like, and people just look at you funny and they'd be like, what are you talking about? That never exists. They kind of take on this mythic proportion of just not being real, and you start to doubt your own, like, did I watch that? Like, did that actually exist?
Clay, I have a real example of that. It was during the 70s, and there's this movie called Killdozer. And it's about a bulldozer that comes to life and it kills people. The title really sums it up great.
Yeah.
But I saw this during the summer, and then I was playing with my friends like a week later, and I'm like, did you guys love Killdozer? And they're like, what's coming out of your mouth? No one had saw it. No one saw it. And they all thought I was making it up. And there was, like you said, I have no avenue to go down. Like, hold on, we're going to rent it, or it's going to be on streaming. I was just like, yeah, I guess I'm a liar. And I'm walking home like, I know I saw that goddamn.
I mean, you do kind of question your own sanity at a certain point. It's like, did I completely fabricate some sort of like just this non-existent kind of imaginary made for TV movie? Like, did it really exist? And I will admit that, like, I do remember Bad Ronald, like seeing Bad Ronald on something at some point, and then it just disappeared for years, decades. And
right? Yeah.
And then, you know, I moved to New York in like 96. And back then there was this amazing video store called Kim's Video. God bless Kim's Video. Like, that place was just like, it had everything. They had a bootleg VHS of Bad Ronald. And I swear to God, when I found it on their shelves, I had this moment where I was like, I'm not crazy. I didn't make it up. Like, it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
For years, I was just like under this pretense of like, I guess I made that up. And then I saw it and it was just like, oh my God, like, it was so validating. And it all of that trauma came back of like watching that movie for the first time since I was like 6, you know, like however old. And it holds up for people of a very particular generation.
It certainly does. It also it acts as almost like a beacon. It's like a lighthouse, because you'll be talking to someone and you find out that you have a mutual interest in movies and horror, and then you kind of like, you know, you're a little embarrassed, but you're like, have you ever seen Bad Ronald, or you ever seen Gargoyles? And they're like,
Gargoyles. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was great. And you're like, I found my people. I found my people. You get excited.
Yeah. I mean, I do think Bad Ronald is a deep cut. Like, that is.
It is.
It really is. Well, you know, we'll get into it, but it has many deep cuts, I think.
Also, I even though I know it's Scott Jacoby and I read his name and that he's there in the credits, in my mind it's Matthew Modine. I look at him and I'm like, oh, it's an early Matthew Modine movie. I mean, you know,
it is a proto-Modine. It's his charm, it's his looks for sure. What did Scott Jacoby do? He went on, I mean, like, he was like a Broadway star for a bit. Like, I think he was like one of those child stars that was like, you know, maybe he showed up on Alf for a while.
Yeah.
I think, wasn't he in that movie, The Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, with Jodie Foster?
Yeah.
When she was like 11 years old. Wow. I love that movie, by the way. But that was 2 years later. Yeah, he was like the magician boyfriend person guy, dude.
Yeah, he's our Ronald. He's the Ronald of our generation. Yes. I feel like, oh my God, I want to. I feel like we need to kind of do a kind of pin in the time period and say that it was 1974, which if I'm doing the math correctly, like that was pre, and I tried to dig up and make sure that this is true, but that's pre Black Christmas, pre Halloween.
It's
For
right.
sure.
It's right on the
Yeah.
cusp, I think,
And not that
of
it's a
Black
slasher
Christmas.
film, but I do think that, like, I think it's really interesting that it's before Black Christmas, which is another one of those films that I like traumatized me, as like a film, as a story about, what's in the house. Someone's in the house, and like where are they, like, maneuvering. And I don't think that like they overlapped in any kind of like in any kind of like conscious way, but I do think that it's interesting to think that year there are these two pivotal films that kind of take place in like that who's in the house with us, like we never see them, we never know, and that unease, like I don't know, something must have been in the air back then in the 70s of like who's living in the attic.
It is weird that it's 74 and both of those movies come out. It's true. Shannon and I did Black Christmas. It was one of the first episodes that we did earlier in the fall, and we hadn't seen it in ages. I mean, literally, like it was decades for me. And we had that euphoric moment where we realized not only do we love Black Christmas, but this might be the best slasher ever made. We were like high-fiving. We're like, this movie's so good.
I mean, I will go to my grave saying it's my favorite slasher. It's one of my favorites, like top 3 for sure, if not number 1.
It's so good.
But God, the more I think about it, both Bad Ronald and Black Christmas have the shot of the eye.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there was a little bit of like, no, but like, I mean, it is amazing how like just that idea of that one, like the most traumatizing shot of both of those films tends to be the like, like the kind of peering through the hole in the wall.
100%.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if we really ever saw that ever again up until The Ring, or Ringu rather.
Yeah.
Ringu.
Yeah.
Not yeah. Yeah, not the American one, the Japanese one.
Shannon, you have to remember
Terrifying.
though, this is a made for TV movie. So the core audience are, kids sitting 2 feet away from the gigantic tube TV. And then that eye shows up and you're like, I need new underoos, and I'm not going to sleep until the spring. I mean, it really it messed up a generation for sure. It was scary.
Yeah, I mean, especially like the first kill, or the kill, basically. That gets him to be Bad Ronald, I suppose.
Oh God.
Well, you guys know though the difference between the novel and the TV. I mean, of course they have to water down the made for TV movie, but the novel is pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
I heard it was a lot more graphic, but I heard he was a lot more graphic. I haven't read it yet. I added it to my long never ending list.
I'm gonna be bold and I'm gonna suggest maybe you don't have to read it.
Yeah.
I did. Jack Vance, wrote this novel in 73. And having not read the book prior to seeing the film, it is very stark, the kind of the paths in which they kind of veer off from one another. And
okay.
I am aghast, I'm agog that they were able to like convince some ABC studio exec, like,
right?
Hey, you know what we need to make for our next made for TV family movie that mom and dad and all the kids are going to crowd around the TV and watch with their bowl of popcorn? We need to adapt Bad Ronald, which I mean, I have to imagine all of those people never read the book because it is depraved. It is a very depraved novel. Yeah. And I mean, no, I mean, like my personal kind of morality barometer is pretty, I have a low threshold. Like I saw Martyrs once. I don't need to see it again. I saw Last House on the Left once. I don't need to see it again. Like there's like a certain kind of like threshold for that sort of stuff that I have. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm glad I experienced that. I can move on with my life now. Bad Ronald the novel is just nothing but like rape and like it's just like there is no morality to it. There's no you know like the center to it is just pure perversion. So then to see the made for TV film, it's just kind of surprising because they basically, I mean, they sanitized it. They stripped away pretty much every layer of kind of perversion that they could, and it still kind of maintains and retains its kind of essence, but in a very like, hey, I'm just a misunderstood madman. Like I'm just like I'm a.
But do you think it like lives on the surface like a little bit because it's because in this case, or at least the way I saw this movie, it really wasn't all Ronald. I feel like in a way Ronald was kind of formulated to kind of be this person in a way because his mom is she's the one that's like like she like okay, so Ronald, like immediately you're like, okay, you're a little delusional, you're kind of the outcast, you want to go out and impress this girl that, I mean, you clearly asked her out many times and she's clearly never going to say yes, but the mom is just as delusional. Right, like oh yeah, you're gonna grow up and be a doctor and fix this kidney disease that she was having. I forgot exactly what it was, but yeah, you're gonna grow up and be a doctor, and oh, and by the way, like your father never came around because I kind of paid him off, in a way. Like I told him like, oh yeah, you don't ever need to come around, and you don't ever have to pay alimony, so I have you all to myself. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Shades of Norman Bates. Shades of Bates.
Absolutely. It's like they took elements of Psycho, and that's what I'm wondering if they kind of, like you said, they sanitize the pure evil, I guess, that apparently that lives in Vance's book, and maybe took the success of
Shannon,
Psycho.
it is like cover to cover trigger warnings, like the whole book. It is. It's
is that why I can't find it in the library?
Yeah, I think they have burned every copy.
I did try to find it. It's not there.
I mean, it is an interesting point, and I do think, if I'm remembering correctly, the one of the key kind of differences between the film and the book is the book doesn't necessarily take on the perspective of Ronald, where I feel like the film kind of does. Like I think that you're kind of grounded in Ronald's point of view a lot more than, say, a lot of the other characters. And
for sure.
There's like a certain, like, you see him as a product of his upbringing. It's definitely nurture over nature. Where in the book there's something kind of inherently like there's something at the core of him that's fundamentally flawed. Mom still very much, like, I think Mom kind of is nearly protecting the rest of the world from Ronald, but like you definitely get the sense that like there's a mutual kind of need for one another, both in the book and in the movie. But when you watch the film, here is a kid who is just, he's in this environment, this family environment, where he's smothered, and does not have the kind of emotional development skills to like read the room or read the kind of signals of the more popular kids. And like, he's clearly not prepared to engage with the world at large. And, when he goes out into the world, much to his mother's, disapproval, he sneaks out basically. When he has this kind of quote unquote accident, Mom kind of goes on lockdown and makes these decisions for Ronald. And I don't know, like, it's interesting how, like, in the book, Ronald makes some bolder choices, that include both rape and murder, and Mom makes choices that are kind of reactions to that, as opposed to like,
Yeah.
oh, you're just misunderstood, hun. You know, this will blow over in no time. Let's get you all set up, and you will figure something out. So like, yeah, it's a little, it's almost kind of shades of the same color, but like just the depravity kind of like,
I have another question. In the book, was he just as was he like also a big fantasy person? Like, did he have like a whole Atlanta or whatever? Did that exist, or was that made up for? Because if it was made up for the movie, I found that to be really interesting.
No, it was in both.
Okay.
God, I want to double check and make sure that it was both Atlanta. It's like Atlanta, but with an R instead of an L. Atlanta.
Well, when he spells it out,
right?
it was like Atlanta. So it's Atlanta.
I don't
know.
He definitely has created this entire fantasy universe in the book, but you see it as less of an escape. Like I don't know, like it's just, it's like D&D for perverts in the book.
In the book,
yeah.
Fair enough.
Where there's like a certain whimsy to it in the movie, and it's like, oh, these beautiful sketches, and that, like, you know, he's like giving this girl her like her portrait, and like, oh my god, yeah. It's in both again, but they kind of bring a certain kind of illumination to the film version of it.
Yeah, because I found it interesting that, like, clearly, I mean, it's kind of what I was already saying before, but like, I like the fact that clearly both him and his mom are living in their own fantasy worlds. You know, even though they depend on each other and they're in the same home, and clearly they would do anything for each other.
Yeah.
As she clearly proves. I just found that to be metaphorically interesting. That's all.
Yeah,
they really do just have each other. By the way, guys, I saw Kim Hunter's name. Okay, that's the mom, and I'm like, why do I know that name? Why do I know that name? She's Zira from the Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah.
I did not know that. It blew my mind. I was like, and she's Stella from Streetcar
Academy
Named Desire.
Award-winning actress from Streetcar Named Desire. Like, it's astounding. Total sidebar. This is shameless. Forgive me. I actually met her, you know, a few years before she passed away, and she was doing this fundraiser event, and she did a reading of a story that I had written, and it was her. And I could have talked to her about Streetcar Named Desire. I could have talked to her about Planet of the Apes, but me just being a complete jackass, I was like, you're in Bad Ronald. And I swear to God, the look on her face. This was like when she was, you know, she was up in her years at this point, but like, I said those two words. I said Bad Ronald, and like the shock and then the disgust. She was like repulsed by the fact that like I made her remember that movie, and I felt so guilty. I felt so bad.
She was so great in it, though.
I know,
like
right?
I think that was the part that she was supposed to play. I actually thought she did it very delusionally well.
Oh my God, Clay, you made me so happy right now. You made me so happy that you brought that movie up.
I mean,
that's hilarious.
It's just like, you know, like, because she's doing the autograph thing, and like everyone's like, oh, I loved you in Streetcar Named Desire, and like they've got posters of like Planet of the Apes, and like it was my turn, and I was like, Bad Ronald, you're in Bad Ronald, and she was just like she like did that like and then she was like like she went back, and then she went forward, and I was like, like in like a 1-2. And, you know, I don't know, man. You know, you never know what people are going to remember you for. But I'll remember Kim Hunter for Bad Ronald.
Oh, now I would just love to bump
and
into
she knows
Dabney
it.
Coleman and just be like, hey, Dabney. You were in Bad Ronald.
Dabney Coleman would be like, "What? I don't remember that at all. Like, was that something?"
Yeah, he's like, "No, I wasn't." Yeah.
He was just walking through a set.
One of the few Dabney Coleman roles where he shows up on screen and he's not a jerk. Yeah. He's just a dad, you know.
But it's funny. It's like he's almost like a jerk by default. Like he is.
Well, you're expecting it.
Yeah, you're expecting it. But like, you know, at a certain point, and I'm not gonna, you know, like he who is without sin should cast the first stone. So I don't know, like if there was someone living in my house, like I hopefully, you know, but like at a certain point you're just like, come on, Dabney, like you have to be aware of the fact that there is someone in, like he's just the most oblivious dad. Like he's just like, you know, he's always got his like beer in bed. He's always got like a can of beer in his hand.
Yeah.
This is the total 70s movie. It was just like, you know, dad has a beer. Like that is his prop. Like that's his costume design right there. Like give that man a can of beer. Like he's just gonna, that's his role for the whole movie.
And that's how you know he's dad.
Yep.
The most 70s part of this movie is the scene between Dabney Coleman and his wife in the bedroom, and he's doing sit-ups, and then his last sit-up, he grabs his beer and he just starts drinking it. And I'm like, that was
sit-ups and schlitz. Right. Like that's the way it goes.
I can't believe he didn't have a smoke. You know?
God. Yeah.
So
my God.
As far as like the fright factor of the movie, and again, you know, this was a TV movie of the week, so the core audience is going to be, you know, kids in front of the TV, and it is, you know, it's sanitized for sure, but it was definitely scary, and especially that, you know, that the third act where everything kind of, you know, he gets found out, and he's essentially trying, you know, he is trying to assault this young girl.
Yeah.
And then when with the part with the eye, and then when he busts out the door, you know, and it was shocking. I mean, it was shocking for back then in 74 for a TV movie of the week, you know. And then, you know, Gargoyles comes along and says, "Hold my beer." And, you know.
But isn't it? I mean, I feel like, you know, we talk about Black Christmas, like I think that a lot of these movies exist based on one shot or one moment that you just,
good point.
They just like sear their way into your mind. So you just hold on to them forever and ever. Like I will see Ronald's eye peering out from that little peephole. I will remember that because it's a slow motion movement when he like busts through the wall. Like that is like like I do think that the film itself, with it has restraint and, you know, or lack of production value. So like, you know, like they're kind of like amping up this slow burn so that by the third act things really go off the rails, and like, you know, like you're not getting a lot of the kind of perspective of like what, you know, like I do feel like it's kind of suffocating. Like I feel like you're kind of trapped in this house, so that it's the kind of eternal, like, don't go in there, don't do that. Like why, like I'm always kind of like, when I watch this film, I'm like, oh my God, like how can you not know that like there's a corpse in the basement, or like there's like, you know, like she's right there, you know, like it kind of defies that kind of fight or flight response that I have whenever I watch a movie. But then you get to the end and then all hell breaks loose, and there are these like pivotal, like key moments where I will just forever remember, like, oh, that eye, it's such a beautiful shot.
I liked I think one of my favorite shots was, who was the neighbor, Mrs. Schumacher, I believe.
Yes.
So she was, so I mean, she was a funny a little comedic relief, I think, because it was just, I don't know, just like the whole like peering up, like, you know, like through the window was hilarious to me. But when she finally saw Ronald, for some reason, I'll admit, I actually got like definitely a little fright in me, and I wasn't sure. I'm like, who am I scared for right now? Like, it was such a weird moment, right? Like, it was like, because in a way, like, you're like, Bad Ronald, like, you're like, okay, like, you're this is, you should not be doing this at all. But you're like, but to be fair, your mother told you to stay in the house and, you know, whatever. And now you're caught.
Yeah.
And it was, but it like but then, I just remember the score and then the close up of Ronald, like seeing her.
Yeah.
It was, I thought that was such a good scene. It's probably like one of my favorite scenes, I think.
Oh my God,
And
I'm
when she
totally
just-
blanking. Does she die? Does
She
he?
does.
He
like,
has a heart attack.
she has a heart attack. Total cop out. Ronald should have Ronald should have been proactive on that one.
But he immediately is like, well, gotta hide this body
That's right.
under the house.
Oh God.
Clay, Shannon and I talked about this because we're talking about Bad Ronald all week, and I can't get my head around the fact that Ronald would have smelled so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. And he had a sink there, but in the movie, it's depicted that he is not bathing at all because he's filthy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, you would smell Ronald. You would absolutely smell him. But, you know, I mean, it is what it is, I suppose.
It's I think that the film kind of rushes through the kind of time frame of like, you know, they're trying to clock his mental degradation, but also his physical, like they're, you know, the smudges, like he has more smudges.
Yeah.
Like he gets dirtier throughout that. And it's like, is that dirt? Is that the charcoal print from the illustrations? But like he, you know, they do a decent job of showing him get, you know, smudgier throughout.
As
but like
it goes on. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's like wearing the same shirt. Like it's definitely. I don't know. I wish there had been someone who was kind of on point for, you know, some sort of exactitude, or like, you know, like, well, it's week 3 in the house or month 7. Like maybe he should be a little bit hairy. Are you at all familiar with such films as The Boy, the Brahms saga?
Yep.
And I feel like, you know, everything's been done. It's just how you kind of retell it and how you do it. But like, you know, I don't want to ruin The Boy for anybody out there, but like, you know, there's a part of me that feels like I want to cry shenanigans on films like that. There's also a film called Housebound, a New Zealand film.
Oh, I love that movie.
It was a great film, right?
Love that movie.
Yeah.
Housebound?
No spoilers, but like,
I'll have to write it down.
you know, the disciples of Ronald are far and wide, right?
I'll brush up against a slight spoiler for The Boy, just in the fact that, because we're talking about, okay, there's somebody living in a house undetected, but The Boy turns out to be a gargantuan man in a house with wood floors.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy couldn't move a muscle without you hearing it 3 floors up. So, you know,
Yeah.
but look, we see these B movies for the fun of it. I suppose you have to suspend your disbelief. But Housebound, though, that is a gem. I really love that movie.
That's a great one. And it plays with your expectations. It kind of, you know, shifts and like, is it supernatural? Is it something else? Like that's a fun one.
I love those.
Yeah.
I love like that keeps you guessing, you know, like is it me? Is it you? Is it him? Is it okay? And then if I can't predict the ending, I usually like it a lot better.
But I do think Bad Ronald, it plays off of your senses. Like, you know, you're talking about smell, but I think like so much of the scenes are just kind of boring domestic scenes, and they're like, do you hear that? Is someone upstairs? Like whose footsteps is that? You know, and then you'll just kind of go back to the family will go back to dinner, and you're just like, oh, this is like, I just love that, like the kind of mundane quality of like coming home from school. I'm the only person at home, you know, everybody else is out, like, you know, and like just that feeling of like, do you hear something? Or like somebody took a cupcake, like that. I made those cupcakes. Like it's just, I love that they're playing off of a vibe that I think we all feel, and maybe it's because we feel it because of Bad Ronald, but like if you're in a room and you hear something or you sense something, all of a sudden you start to imagine like, oh my God, I'm not alone in this house. Like, oh, like there's someone else here. Like someone is.
I think
Clay,
I think
constantly
that anyway.
this happens to me.
I think that anyway.
The TV in our living room was going on. This only happened. It was a 2-week stretch, and for whatever reason, the TV was going on. So it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning, and you wouldn't. It wasn't like the volume was on, but you'd wake up because you just have this like weird sense that like why is there light coming in the room? And I kept going out there, and I'm like, fucking Ronald, I'll find you.
Damn, Ronald, like you again.
That little
That or
rascal.
I'm like, my house is absolutely haunted.
Oh my God.
But the boiler will go on, and I'll be home alone, and I'm like, what was that? Yeah, and I know what the noise is, but I'm still like, what was that noise? What was? Maybe I've really done damage to myself watching all these horror movies.
God, I would lose my shit if there was someone in my. I like it. There is that. It's just that moment, and it is the I and the people moment where you're just like, I'm not alone. Like it's just like that sheer kind of moment of like, there's someone else here, and like. If Ronald, disheveled Ronald with like the smudges, like if he just came out, I'd just be like, holy shit. Like it would just like, how does one respond? How does one react in that moment? It would just be like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I felt genuine fear for Babs in that moment when he does just, ta-da, look what I drew you. And he thinks it's okay. And this is not fucking okay. Not at all.
No. There are definitely little parts. I mean, we spoke about the similarities between Black Christmas and Bad Ronald with the Eye, which is so well done in both movies. But I will also say that maybe some of the slashers down the road cribbed or paid homage to. We don't want to accuse them of cribbing stuff, but that busting through the door is very much a Friday the 13th. I know that's like a Friday the 13th part 2.
Totally.
So I think they laid a little blueprint down for people to pick up on down the road, which I love. I adore that.
Yeah. I mean, if it all goes back to Bad Ronald, we've like just kind of like found the kind of like forefather of all of these amazing movies, right?
Absolutely.
Can you imagine?
And he like bursts out. Like it's such a beautiful moment because it's such a like there's no grace to it. It's not like he comes out and he's like he's not some victim.
Shouldn't be.
He's not, it's not Jason grabbing someone and yanking them back. It's just this kid blasting through a wall, like basically kind of running away, and he's like tripping on himself and falling down, and he like stumbles out the front steps, and like the police catch him. Like it's just like there's such a like it's so kind of pitiful in this way that Ronald's life has just been this kind of thwarted, kind of stunted, like even his reveal, his like big moment to kind of like burst out of the walls. Like it's just, he kind of stumbles and like gets arrested.
It's like, womp womp, you're arrested.
Yeah.
By the way, can we talk about the police detective? I mean, when they were casting, this guy
God.
showed up and they told everybody else to go home. His face is just like Joe Cop.
Yeah.
He's perfect.
Nuance is not. They're sticking straight down the middle.
Nothing's wrong. Call us later.
I think we did Bad Ronald justice. I mean, it's a quirky little film. I want to put it on everyone's radar just so that they can experience it. You have to. I mean, look, if you're listening to this, Bad Ronald, I think I saw it on maybe Tubi. It was on one of the streamers.
Warner Brothers. They did this. It's one of their burn. Like it's not a Blu-ray for sure. But the Warner's archive has it, and I found it at Bucket of Blood Books and Records in Chicago.
Oh, nice.
But I think you could probably order it. So there is like a DVD out there of it. I feel like, I think it's a great artifact. It's like a great kind of like, those, because I do think that they're just those made for TV films. Like I know Dark Knight of the Scarecrow has a streaming life now, but like, don't go to sleep Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Like those films that just have no imprint beyond their air date. Like I just want to find them somewhere. Like they're impossible to find unless you go to YouTube or something, you know?
You hope that somebody like a Vinegar Syndrome or Severin or Arrow will do something with them someday.
Totally.
But you make a great point, because I kind of went down the rabbit hole. I started watching a lot of made for TV, and you can pick them up on YouTube, but the quality they're so bad.
Yeah. They're
just so bad. But I did want to point out, so I watched The Savage Bees. Shannon and I were talking about, we did oh, by the way, Eric Hansen from Cradle to the Grave play. I was just on with him on Sunday. He gives a hello to you.
Oh my God. The small world, the podcast community comes together.
Yay.
Yes, we're all one. But we were talking about Draculas with him. So the Dan Curtis Dracula, Dan Curtis did a lot of these made for TV movies, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Don't Be Afraid of the Dark still scares me.
Mm-hmm.
Those little people still scare the hell out of me. Trilogy of Terror we mentioned. I mean, Karen Black will always be an eternal crush for me. I feel a little bad when I talk about Trilogy of Terror, though, because I can never remember the other two. It's just always the Zuni fetish doll.
Yeah, you don't need to talk about the other two. They're
right.
They are what they are.
Now, okay, let me ask you two. What's your opinion? The best made-for-TV movie of all time, is it Salem's Lot or is it Duel? Do you think? And by I mean, I don't mean best, but the most successful.
I mean successful.
I don't know.
Well,
probably Salem's Lot. Really?
I bet you Salem's Lot was more successful for viewership. I would argue Duel was more successful for launching the career of a certain unknown filmmaker, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. But I mean, I think probably more people watch Salem's Lot, right?
I try and watch it every year. Although Duel, we're down here on Long Island, Clay. So the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington is doing a re-release of Duel. I have to see that on the big screen.
Wait, when is that?
When? Yeah, when?
You know what? I'll send it to you
about this now too.
I'll send it to both of you on Instagram. You know what? And I'll put it in the show notes as well for all the listeners. I believe it's in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
It hasn't happened yet. It's coming up, but I'm definitely going to check that out. You have to see it.
Imagine we get a big party to go. I would love to see that on the big screen. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That's the other thing that we haven't talked about. Like, a made-for-TV film has its own architecture. It has its own commercial. Like, the commercial breaks are kind of baked in to the film, regardless of there being commercials. So, like, a film like Bad Ronald has these crescendos where it's just like the music, and then like there'll be a fade out, and then it'll come back in, and we're back in there, and like you just have these moments where it's just like, I don't know, and I'm imagining like my kids watching it and just being like, what the hell, like, what is that all about? And what
is happening? Yeah,
like, well, kids, back in our day we had these things called commercials where, and it just like it's just something that you kind of forget, because I mean, I know that a lot of streamers now are kind of inserting their commercials again, but like it's just funny how these films had to create a certain
they had their own rhythm.
Yeah.
Like a blend in, blend out.
Totally. And it would be like string
transition.
section.
It's so
a lot
true.
went into it, though.
It's so true. And then I'm going to see Duel on the big screen, and they're going to have those crescendos, and then it's going to lead to no commercial, and I'm going to be like,
fade out, fade in. Just be like, because when you just watch it straight through, you're just like, It's like speed bumps. You're just like, every 7 minutes or something.
You finish the movie, you're like, why am I so tired? That was exhausting.
I need a McDonald's commercial or something to just like cleanse the palate. Just give me a Geico commercial or something, please. Like, this is a little too much.
What's the new Happy Meal coming out? I need to know. Oh
my gosh! All right, so Clay, we're gonna put you on the hot seat. We have our 3 questions that we ask all our guests. They're
Okay.
very easy. They're very easy, but we'll start with the first one. The first one is, what is the scariest experience you've ever had? It could be a movie, or it could be I was driving down a deserted road and I looked over and there was a ghost in the seat next to me. Whatever the scariest moment you've ever had.
I mean, just because we're talking about all of these made-for-TV films, like, I do want to. I'm going to tailor it to my scariest made-for-TV movie moment was this movie called Don't Go to Sleep. Like, nobody remembers Don't Go to Sleep, but it's like,
watch this.
Is this girl possessed? Is she not possessed? Like, is she a psycho killer? Is she not a psycho killer? But like not to give away too much, but there is a terrifying scene that revolves around a pizza cutter, a pizza slicer, and it is phenomenal. And watching that as a kid scared me. And I'm working on a new book right now, and I'm like paying lip service to the pizza slicer, because the pizza slicer is a scary kitchen utensil that doesn't get its due. So I want to bring back the pizza slicer, damn it.
Nice.
That's my lot in life. Bring back the
Oh,
slicer.
that's great. That's great. Shannon, do you want to do the second question?
Yes, it's a trash movie one, right?
It's a trash movie one.
Okay. I always get them out of order, so forgive me, Clay. But okay, so what is a trash movie that you love? Basically meaning that like everybody else pretty much hates it, but you'll defend it to the death.
Bad Ronald.
Bad Ronald. Like the gospel of Ronald is like it's a tough one to spread. Like it's like guys, you got to understand the history of it, the context of it. Like it's like this is where it was, and like I don't know if I defend it as much as try to give the history, which is probably even more annoying. But it's a total cop out. I'm copping out, but like I think it has to be Bad Ronald because A, nobody has seen that movie. B, the people who have don't remember seeing it or don't believe they actually saw it. And C, there's just no like there's not enough love for Ronald.
Yeah, we got to bring the Ronald love for sure. Hopefully this episode will do it.
Yeah, we're trying.
Don't watch The Boy. Don't watch. I mean, you can watch Housebound, but like after. But like, yeah.
I mean, today nowadays we have a short attention span. This movie's only an hour and 14 minutes long.
It's true.
Like,
yeah, it is very quick.
Yeah,
take it. Just Sinners do it.
In and out.
Okay, our third question is the most contentious one. We've had pushback on it, but we're still going to ask it.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Because I'll tell you.
Though.
I'll tell you why after I ask it. So, any movie that you would love to see remade, and you could just name the movie, or if you really want to get into it, you could also say who you'd love to direct it now and who to star in it.
Oh God. I don't mind the question. I mean, like some of my favorite movies are remakes. So like The Thing, like remakes, I think are it happens. I do hold certain sacred cows to still be sacred. So I feel like I didn't need a remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I personally don't feel like this movie needs to be remade because it's perfect in my heart. But I wouldn't. There was like a hot minute where I was hired to develop a script for a film called Let's Scare Jessica to Death, which is a deep, deep, deep cut. And it was at Paramount, and they because they kind of distributed it, but like the rights are just so tied up with all these different kind of shell companies that don't even exist anymore. But it's in their back catalog, and I feel like that's such a mood movie and a tone movie that any remake would be horrible, but I kind of want to see a remake of it because I don't know. And I'm
heartbroken that I'm not going to see your version of it. Well, right now, maybe it'll circle back around.
No,
good vibes out. No,
it's never happening. And I mean, like,
all right.
because even in the like development of it, like there were like it was already kind of veering into this like, oh, they're vampires, like let's make them vampires. I was like, well, are they vampires? Like they're like,
Yeah.
in the original it's like, are they or are they not? Are they ghosts? Are they vampires? And like they're like, no, let's make them vampires. And it was kind of like, like you can see
Okay.
what the remake would be, and it would just be like, no, let's let bygones be by. Let's let this lie, because yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten from our guests, we have gotten people who are just jump into it and they're like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I want to see this remade. And then we've gotten, why would you ever remake anything? And we respect all age. We may need to change the third question.
You brought up The Ring. Like I think Ringu to the Ring, that's a wonderful remake, and
Yeah.
I would argue that like I will stand by like all of the remakes, almost all of the remakes of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like there's certain films. I mean, well, no, maybe not 9/11. Like they're just films that like each generation needs its own version of this film, and
The Fly was a remake. I think that's a great movie.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. I know the big talk right now is The Crow, so it's
yeah.
So The Crow, if you ever asked me like actually like my one favorite movie that I had to pick, if I had to pick one, I will always go back to The Crow.
So are you excited? Have you seen the trailer, and are you now like, yeah, I take that back, or are you like, yeah, I'm gonna go?
I'm definitely curious enough to see it. It's that the violence is already intriguing to me. But the thing is with me, you're never ever gonna top that movie. Not ever. It was literally written out of tragedy, and then something tragic happened while making that movie. Like you're never gonna capture that soul and the depth that everybody went through to finally finish the project, both the written form as well as the movie version, since Brandon Lee died before they could wrap filming. So you're never going to capture like the work that they put into, I think, and with the love that everyone has for it. But I think it's time now for a new one. I mean, they certainly tried, and it definitely died out after. I think Eddie Furlong, fortunately, I think did that one.
Yeah.
But I have read a lot of the other stories, and I enjoyed all of those, like the random writers. So those are really great books, actually.
So many. It's amazing when a story kind of expands kind of beyond whatever source material, like the comic, the film, any of the novelizations. Like there's a legacy to that one. Not a Rob Zombie one though. Like we were denied what Crow. He was going to do the third Crow sequel. There was one. He was like before House of a Thousand Corpses. There was going to actually be a Rob Zombie Crow like sequel. Not a remake.
Do we know who was going to star?
No, I have no idea.
I don't know if he made it that far. That's the thing.
Okay.
Because he was also supposed to do a remake of The Blob as well, I think, and that never came to fruition either.
Yeah.
So
another one of my favorite remakes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Chuck Russell. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, these things, I don't know. Stories never die. They'll just get remade. They'll just become the next thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. All right, Clay, we're about to wrap up, but we want to give you all the time you need. I know we discussed some things in the beginning of the podcast, but other projects, where you're going to be, anything to promote, just have at it, or just, movies that you're looking forward to, whatever you want to talk about. It's all you.
I want to. It's funny. Like we were just talking about remakes. How come no one's remaking Bad Ronald? Like that actually, like, that just popped in my head. I mean, yeah,
that's fair.
I feel like
put it out there.
I think we need to do a Bad Ronald remake.
I think we should get together and do a Bad Ronald movie.
I mean, it could be done. I think that like one location, one setting. There you go.
I mean, it is cost effective. That's for sure.
Yeah, we just need one wall to build and destroy.
I'm just gonna spend my last minute, just saying, like, Bad Ronald. Find Bad Ronald wherever you can. It is worth it. Damn it! Even if it is the YouTube kind of rip, like, just like see this film because it has to be seen to be believed.
For sure.
And then maybe read the book so that you can see where it started and just know it's come a long way, baby.
Be prepared. All right, Clay, I can't let you go without saying, Cinners, you absolutely have to follow Clay on Instagram. You are highly entertaining. I love all the adventures that you get into, and you are just everywhere. I just love seeing all of the bookstores and the speaking engagements that you have, and you're always promoting other people, and you're always promoting local bookstores, and I think that's fantastic. You know, you're a hero. Woohoo!
Yes.
Thank you, man. Thank you for putting up with me on the social media blitzkrieg.
Oh no, I mean, you put a smile
it.
on my face. You have great Instagram, and you have a very interesting life. It seems like you're having a lot of fun. I love the stuff you do with your family too. So rock on. It's good stuff.
I'll die one of these days, but until then, let's have fun.
Yeah.
It won't be out of boredom, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Clay. We really loved having you on. I can't wait to have you on a couple months from now.
Anytime. You're gonna have to remind me what I said I agreed to, because all of a sudden I was like, what was that other film? So it's gonna be it's a secret to me too. While we were talking, I thought it was Damien Rugner's Terrified, but it's not, because Neil McRobert claimed that one, but it's right in that time frame. I'll text you. Okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be very, very curious. Oh wait, was it? Oh yeah. Okay. You tell me. We'll go from there. Okay.
You got it. You got
it. I have no idea what it is.
It'll be fun.
Oh, I'm definitely not telling Shannon.
No, he never tells me ever.
It's what keeps our friendship fresh. All right, gang. Have a great night. Thanks again, Clay. Really appreciate it.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.